Commander Leo stood at the edge of the desert, staring at the golden sands stretching as far as the eye could see. The sun burned bright in the pale sky, making the heat shimmer above the ground. In the distance, a strange shape rose from the dunes. It was a massive structure, half buried by time and wind. Leo's team had come from Earth after receiving reports of this mysterious tomb, said to be older than any human civilization. "Are you sure this is the place?" asked Myra, adjusting her scanner as she stepped closer. She was the team's engineer, always calm, always precise. Her dark eyes scanned the ruins, and she noted the unusual energy readings coming from beneath the sand. "Yes," Leo replied. He walked forward, feeling the weight of the moment. The sensors matched the old maps. This tomb should have remained hidden, but somehow someone left clues to find it. The team had been warned by historians and local guides. They spoke of legends, of a tomb that should never be opened. Some said it contained knowledge that could change the fate of worlds. Others whispered of dangers that had defeated entire civilizations. Leo had heard the warnings, but the chance to uncover something ancient, something alien, was too great to ignore. As they approached the entrance, Myra's hand brushed against the surface of the tomb. It was smooth, black stone unlike anything found on their planet. Strange symbols were etched across it, glowing faintly in the sunlight. Leo's stomach tightened. The carvings were intricate, depicting humans and alien beings together. Machines floated above cities, and people were shown reaching toward them with reverence. "Look at this," Myra said, her voice low with wonder. "It's like a story carved in stone. But these symbols, they're alive somehow. I can feel them." Leo nodded. The tomb was meant to be more than a resting place. It was a message. Whoever built this wanted someone to find it, but only someone worthy. The team worked together, using their tools to clear the sand and reveal the massive doors. It took hours, their muscles straining under the heat, but finally, the entrance stood open before them. The doors were enormous, carved from a single piece of alien metal that seemed both heavy and delicate. Leo reached out and pressed his hand against the surface. A pulse of warmth ran through him, almost like the tomb was breathing. "Are we ready?" asked Raffi, the youngest member of the team. His usual confidence was tempered by nervous excitement. "We have to be," Leo replied. "Stay close, and remember, we don't know what we will find inside." With a deep breath, he pushed the doors. They moved smoothly, silently, revealing a dark passageway stretching downward. The air inside was cooler than outside, but it carried a strange metallic scent that made their heads spin slightly. Leo flicked on his flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness and revealing walls covered in more carvings. The murals inside were breathtaking. They showed humans learning from alien machines, exploring distant planets, and even creating incredible cities together. It was clear that the beings who built this tomb valued knowledge above all else. Leo felt a shiver run down his spine. Myra's voice broke the silence. "There's something here. Energy readings are off the charts. It's like the tomb is still alive." Leo frowned. "Alive? That doesn't make sense. It's a structure, a tomb." "Maybe not just a tomb," Myra said, moving closer to one of the glowing carvings. "Look at this pattern. It reacts to us. It changes when I touch it." As she pressed her fingers against the wall, a soft hum filled the chamber. Light ran along the carvings, highlighting figures that seemed to move in their stone frames. Leo stepped back, unsure if it was his imagination. The tomb seemed to acknowledge their presence, welcoming them or warning them. "This is bigger than we thought," Leo whispered. "We need to be careful. This place, it was meant to test whoever enters." Raffi glanced around nervously. "Test? Are you saying it's dangerous?" Leo shook his head. "Not necessarily. But everything here was made by a species far older than us. We can't predict their intentions. We move forward slowly, together, and we respect what we do not understand. For a long moment, the team stood in silence, gazing at the glowing walls. Each person felt a mixture of fear and excitement. The desert outside had been empty, harsh, and unforgiving. Inside the tomb, time seemed to stop. They were no longer just humans on a planet, they were visitors in a world built by beings who had long vanished. Leo took a step deeper into the passage, signaling the team to follow. Remember this moment. We are about to uncover something that no human has seen in thousands of years. Every step counts. Myra's hand lingered on the wall one last time, as if saying goodbye to the past. Then the team moved forward, into the darkness, unaware of the mysteries and challenges that awaited them in the depths of the tomb that should never have been opened. The deeper Leo and his team moved into the tomb, the cooler and darker the air became. The walls glowed faintly, casting long, shifting shadows. Every step echoed, but it was not just sound, it felt like the tomb itself was listening. Myra's scanner kept beeping softly, picking up unusual energy signals coming from the walls. "This energy is unlike anything I have seen before," Myra whispered. "It's not just power. It feels alive." Raffi, who usually carried himself with confidence, stayed close to Leo. "Alive? You mean the tomb is moving?" "Not moving, but aware," Leo said, his voice low. He paused to examine a series of carvings on the wall. The figures showed humans interacting with strange machines, receiving knowledge and energy. "Look at these images. They are showing us what was possible when humans worked with these beings." But something happened, something made them stop. Myra reached out to touch one of the carvings. The wall beneath her fingers began to shimmer, and a soft hum filled the chamber. Light began to move across the surface, forming shapes that looked almost like stars in the night sky. Then, suddenly, a passage opened to the side. "Did the tomb just move?" Raffi asked, his eyes wide. "It's responding to us," Myra said. "Somehow, it knows we are here." Leo signaled the team to proceed carefully. "Stay alert. We do not know what we are dealing with yet." As they stepped into the new passage, the walls began to change. The carvings grew larger, showing humans learning to manipulate energy, creating cities that floated above the ground. The scenes were beautiful, but there was also a warning. Some images depicted destruction, cities crumbling, energy spiraling out of control. The tomb was showing them not only achievements but consequences. "This place is like a history lesson," Raffi said, trying to calm his rising fear. "It shows us what humans could do, and what could go wrong." "Yes," Leo said. "And we must learn from it. That is why this tomb was built." It was not just a resting place, it was a test. A warning for anyone who comes after. Myra noticed a small device embedded in the floor, its surface covered in alien symbols. She knelt and examined it, her fingers tracing the carvings. "This looks like a control panel," she said. "It may let us interact with the tomb in a different way." Leo leaned over. "Be careful. We do not know what it does." Myra nodded and pressed a symbol. Immediately, a wave of energy ran through the chamber, and the lights in the carvings grew brighter. A projection appeared in front of them, a three-dimensional map of the tomb's interior, showing rooms and corridors that were not visible before. The map also highlighted areas with stronger energy signals, some pulsing in bright red. "These must be the tomb's guardians," Myra said. "The areas with red are where they are most active." Leo studied the map carefully. "The guardians are not attacking. They are watching. This is a warning, not a trap, at least not yet." The team moved cautiously toward the next chamber, where the energy signals were strongest. As they approached, the air grew heavier, charged with an electric feeling. The walls themselves seemed to hum. Leo raised his hand to signal a stop. "Wait. Everyone, Take a deep breath. Focus. We cannot make mistakes here. The chamber opened into a vast hall. The ceiling was so high that their lights could not reach it. In the center, a pedestal glowed with a soft blue light. Around it were statues of beings with elongated heads and hands raised as if guiding humans. The energy from the pedestal pulsed gently, and Myra's scanner went wild. "This is the heart of the tomb," Myra said, awed. "All the energy we have sensed is coming from here." Suddenly, the carvings on the walls shifted. The images changed from peaceful teaching to guardians moving, their stone hands pointing toward the team. The hum grew louder, vibrating through their chests. Leo stepped forward, raising his hand to calm the team. "Remember," he said, "we are here to observe and learn. We do not take anything without understanding it. That is why we survive. Do not panic." Myra cautiously touched the pedestal. Instantly, the light spread across the floor, forming a holographic display of the tomb's history. It showed humans arriving on this planet centuries ago, working with the beings who built the tomb. The projection even displayed a final warning, a message encoded in the alien language, which Myra quickly translated with her device. "The tomb was sealed because its power can destroy as easily as it can create," Myra said, her voice trembling slightly. "They wanted to protect the universe from it. That is why it should never have been opened." Leo's eyes narrowed. "Then our task is clear. We must learn what we can, but we must be careful. This is not just discovery, it is responsibility." As they stood in the chamber, the tomb's guardians stirred slightly, a reminder that they were being watched. The team felt a mix of fear and awe. They had entered a place older than humanity, a place that could test their courage, wisdom, and restraint. And the deeper they went, the more they realized that the tomb was far more than stone and energy. It was alive, and it had a purpose. The team paused for a moment to gather themselves, the glow from the pedestal casting long shadows across the vast hall. Leo's mind raced. They had entered the tomb seeking knowledge, but now it was clear that the tomb itself was testing them. Every step forward required careful thought. "We need to explore further," Leo said, his voice steady. "But we move slowly and stay together. The tomb is not just a structure, it is a challenge." Myra nodded. "The energy readings show multiple levels beneath us. If we descend, we will reach the core of the tomb." Raffi glanced nervously at the dark passageways leading downward. "And what if the guardians decide we are not worthy?" Leo placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Then we rely on our courage, our intelligence, and our teamwork. That is what will keep us safe." The team followed the passage, stepping onto a staircase carved into the stone. It spiraled down, winding around glowing symbols that lit their path. The air grew cooler with each step, carrying a faint hum that resonated in their chests. Leo noticed that some of the walls shifted slightly as they passed, almost as if the tomb itself was alive, observing their every movement. After several minutes, they reached a large chamber. Its ceiling was low, forcing them to duck slightly, and the walls were lined with alien machines. Each device glowed with blue energy, pulsing rhythmically. The room smelled faintly metallic, and the air vibrated with power. "This must be a control center," Myra whispered, moving closer to one of the devices. "These machines are linked to the energy we sensed. They are still active, waiting for someone to interact with them." Leo stepped forward carefully. "Do we know how they work?" Myra shook her head. "Not yet. But I think the carvings on the walls might give us instructions." The team spread out, studying the walls. The carvings depicted humans operating these machines, creating energy flows that powered entire cities. But other images showed failure, humans overwhelmed by uncontrolled energy, destroyed by their own ambitions. The lesson was clear: the tomb tested not just skill, but wisdom and restraint. Raffi hesitated before one of the machines. "What if we make a mistake? What if we trigger something dangerous?" Leo looked at him firmly. We act carefully and with thought. The tomb is not against us, it wants to teach us. If we act with respect, we can learn. Myra placed her hands on a panel, and the machine lit up. A holographic map appeared, showing corridors and rooms they had not yet discovered. Some areas were highlighted in red, indicating high energy or potential danger. Others glowed blue, showing safe paths. This map is guiding us, Myra said. It is giving us a choice. We can follow the safe path or risk the dangerous areas for greater knowledge. Leo studied the map. We need information, but we cannot be reckless. Let's take the path that balances safety and discovery. The team moved forward, guided by the holographic display. Soon, they reached a room filled with artifacts, strange devices and objects made of alien metal and crystal. Each item radiated energy, and Leo felt a tingling sensation as he approached them. These artifacts are incredible, Myra said, lifting one carefully. They contain knowledge, technology, and energy from a species far older than humanity. They were meant to be found by those who are capable of understanding them. Suddenly, a soft vibration ran through the floor. The team froze as shadows shifted along the walls. The tomb's guardians had begun to stir. They were humanoid in shape but made entirely of stone and metal, with glowing eyes that tracked every movement. Leo signaled everyone to remain calm. Remember, they are not hostile unless we act recklessly. Move slowly and show respect. The guardians moved closer, their stone feet making no sound, yet the air seemed to hum with their presence. Myra carefully placed the artifact back on its pedestal. The guardians paused, their glowing eyes flickering, as if acknowledging her decision. Every action counts here, Leo said quietly. The tomb judges us through our choices. Wisdom and restraint are more important than speed or strength. As they watched, one of the guardians moved to a wall and pressed its hand against a symbol. A hidden door slid open, revealing a narrow corridor leading deeper into the tomb. The guardian stepped back, allowing the humans to pass. It was a silent acknowledgement, they had passed the first trial. Leo led the team forward, feeling a mixture of pride and unease. The tomb was testing them, and they were beginning to understand its purpose. It was not simply a resting place for the past, it was a lesson for the future. Myra's voice broke the silence. Leo, the energy here is incredible. We could learn so much if we continue, but we must always remember the warnings. This power is dangerous if misused. Leo nodded. That is exactly why we proceed carefully. Knowledge without wisdom is a threat, not a gift. The tomb will continue to test us, but we must remain united and mindful of our choices. With that, the team stepped into the corridor, moving deeper into the tomb that seemed alive around them. Each step brought new wonders, new challenges, and the growing realization that this tomb was more than stone and metal. It was a teacher, waiting for humans brave enough to learn its lessons. The corridor stretched before Leo and his team, narrow and dimly lit by the glowing walls. The hum of energy grew stronger as they moved forward. Each step seemed to resonate with the tomb itself, as if it were alive and aware of their presence. Leo led the team carefully, knowing that every choice could change the outcome of their journey. Look at these symbols, Myra said, kneeling to examine a set of carvings on the wall. They are different from the ones we saw earlier. These show humans learning to control energy, but they also show failure and consequences. Raffi shivered. Failure? What kind of failure? Myra pointed to a sequence of images. Humans reached for a glowing device, but their actions caused the energy to spiral out of control. Cities crumbled, machines exploded, and the humans were shown being thrown back by invisible forces. This is a warning, she said. The tomb is showing us that knowledge without wisdom can be dangerous. Leo nodded. That is exactly why we must proceed carefully. This is not just a tomb, it is a test. And we are being tested every step of the way. The team continued, descending a spiral staircase that led to a larger chamber. The walls were covered in alien machinery, more complex than anything they had seen before. Crystals pulsed with light, and panels displayed symbols that shifted as if alive. Myra approached a console and studied it closely. "This is a control panel," she said. "It seems to regulate the energy in the tomb. If we understand it, we may be able to interact with the machine safely." Leo leaned over her shoulder. "Do you think it is safe to try?" Myra hesitated. "I think so, but we must be careful. One wrong move could trigger the tomb's defenses." After a moment of thought, Myra pressed a symbol. A soft hum filled the room, and a holographic projection appeared above the console. It showed a map of the tomb, highlighting areas with high energy in red and safe paths in blue. Some areas pulsed with a bright white light, signaling points of interest. "These must be the most important sections," Myra said. "The tomb is guiding us, showing us where to go and what to explore." Leo studied the map. "We have a choice. The red areas may hold greater knowledge, but they are also more dangerous. The blue paths are safer but may not give us as much information." Raffi frowned. "Which way should we go?" Leo looked at the team. "We proceed with caution. We balance safety with discovery. That is the lesson of this tomb, wisdom over recklessness." The team moved toward a red-lit corridor, their steps slow and deliberate. As they entered, the air became charged with energy. The walls vibrated slightly, and the carvings seemed to shift as if alive. Shadows danced across the floor, hinting at the presence of the tomb's guardians. "These guardians," Myra said quietly, "they are not hostile unless provoked. They are here to protect, not attack. We must respect their rules." Leo nodded. "Remember that every action counts. Show restraint, and we can learn. Act recklessly, and we will face consequences." The corridor opened into a vast chamber filled with alien artifacts. Each item radiated energy, and Leo felt a tingling sensation as he stepped closer. Crystals floated above platforms, spinning slowly, while machines hummed with power. It was clear that this room held great knowledge and great risk. Myra reached for one of the artifacts, a glowing orb of energy. Instantly, a holographic projection appeared, showing humans interacting with similar devices. The humans were learning, creating, and sharing knowledge. But some images showed failure: humans overwhelmed by energy, machines exploding, and civilizations in chaos. "This is incredible," Myra whispered. "We can see how knowledge was passed down, but also the dangers that came with it. The tomb is teaching us, not just storing history." Suddenly, the ground vibrated, and shadows moved along the walls. The guardians had noticed their presence. Leo stepped forward, raising his hands in a calm gesture. "We mean no harm. We are here to learn." The guardians paused, their glowing eyes observing. After a tense moment, they stepped back, allowing the team to continue. It was a silent acknowledgement that they were respecting the tomb's rules. Leo turned to the team. "This is why the tomb was sealed. It is not just a resting place, it is a test of wisdom, courage, and restraint. We are learning what the creators intended for anyone who enters." Myra carefully placed the orb back on its platform. "We must remember this lesson," she said. "Knowledge without understanding can be dangerous. We are here to gain wisdom, not power." Raffi nodded, a new respect in his eyes. "I understand now. The tomb is alive, and it is teaching us how to be responsible. We cannot rush or take what we do not deserve." Leo smiled slightly. "Exactly. And that is why we will continue, step by step, learning everything we can while respecting the tomb. Our choices will determine not only our survival but the future of what humanity will learn from this place." With renewed focus, the team moved deeper into the tomb. Each step brought new wonders and new lessons. The tomb, alive in its own way, seemed to watch and guide them. And the humans understood that this journey was not just about discovery, it was about proving that they were worthy of the knowledge hidden within the tomb that should never have been opened. The team had been moving through the tomb for hours. Their footsteps echoed softly in the corridors, blending with the hum of energy that surrounded them. Leo felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him. Every choice they made mattered. The tomb was not just a place of history, it was alive, watching and testing them. "Leo," Myra whispered, pausing to examine a glowing panel, "these readings are unusual. The energy is stronger here, and the guardians seem more active. We should proceed carefully." Leo nodded. "Agreed. Everyone stay alert. We cannot afford mistakes now." Raffi, who had grown quieter since entering the tomb, spoke up. "Do you think the tomb tests our character? Like it wants to see who we really are?" Leo considered this. "Yes. That seems to be the case. Our actions, our choices, they determine whether we are worthy of what the tomb holds. It is not enough to be curious. We must show respect, wisdom, and courage." They moved forward into a chamber unlike any they had seen. The room was circular, with walls covered in glowing symbols that shifted and pulsed. In the center, a large artifact floated above a pedestal, radiating a soft blue light. Its surface rippled as if it were liquid energy, and the hum from the walls intensified as they approached. "This is incredible," Myra said, stepping closer. "I have never seen energy like this. It is alive, almost responsive." As she reached out, Raffi suddenly grabbed her arm. "Wait. We don't know what it will do. Remember the warnings." Leo stepped forward, placing a hand on Raffi's shoulder. "She is right to be careful. Myra, observe, but do not touch yet. The tomb tests restraint as much as knowledge." Myra nodded and held her hand slightly above the artifact. The energy seemed to recognize her presence. Light spread across the floor, forming patterns that mirrored the symbols on the walls. Then, without warning, the patterns shifted, forming a barrier around them. The tomb's guardians began to stir, emerging from hidden alcoves. Their stone bodies moved with silent precision, their glowing eyes fixed on the humans. "Stand still," Leo ordered. "Show no aggression. We are here to learn." The guardians approached slowly, their movements deliberate. Myra stepped back, and Raffi's breathing grew faster. Leo held up his hand, keeping the team calm. The guardians circled them, examining every motion. The energy from the artifact pulsed in response, as if the tomb itself was judging their actions. After a tense moment, the guardians stopped. One of them pressed its hand against the wall, and a hidden passage opened. The artifact's energy dimmed slightly, and the barrier disappeared. The tomb was allowing them to continue, but only because they had acted with respect and caution. Leo let out a slow breath. This is exactly what the tomb wants. We are being tested, and we passed. But we must not become overconfident. Each step deeper brings greater challenges. The team moved into the newly revealed corridor. The walls shimmered with energy, and the air vibrated with power. They could feel the presence of the tomb's guardians watching from the shadows, ready to respond to any mistake. As they walked, Raffi whispered, "I understand now. It's not just about finding things. It's about proving that we can handle what we find responsibly." Myra glanced at him. "Exactly. Knowledge without wisdom can be dangerous. This tomb is teaching us that lesson over and over." They reached a chamber filled with ancient machines, each connected to glowing crystals. Myra studied one closely. "These devices are advanced beyond anything humans have built. But they are not weapons. They are tools for learning and creation. The tomb wants us to understand, not to destroy." Leo nodded. "That is why we must continue carefully. We cannot rush or take what we are not ready for. The tomb rewards patience and wisdom. Suddenly, a loud vibration shook the chamber. One of the machines activated on its own, sending a wave of energy toward Raffi. He stumbled, and Myra caught him just in time. The Guardians appeared, moving to block the energy. Leo realized that Raffi's impulsive step forward had triggered the machine. "This is exactly why the tomb tests us," Leo said. "It is showing that even small actions have consequences. We must always act with thought and care." The energy dissipated, and the Guardians returned to their positions. The team stood silently, absorbing the lesson. Leo looked at each member in turn. "We are learning what it truly means to be worthy of this place. Every decision, every movement, shapes our future here. Remember that as we move deeper." With renewed focus, the team continued. They had faced the tomb's first serious challenge and survived. The Guardians watched, the energy pulsed, and the corridors ahead promised even greater tests. The tomb was alive, and the humans were beginning to understand that they were not just explorers, they were students of an ancient and powerful intelligence, tested by the tomb that should never have been opened. The team entered the next chamber, a vast space filled with a soft golden light. Crystals hung from the ceiling like stars, and their glow reflected off smooth walls carved with intricate patterns. Leo paused at the entrance, feeling the weight of the moment. They were approaching the heart of the tomb, the place where the greatest knowledge and the greatest danger was kept. Myra's eyes widened. "The energy readings here are off the charts. Whatever is here is incredibly powerful." Leo nodded. "We have come this far. We must proceed, but carefully. The tomb has been testing us all along. The real test is here." Raffi stepped forward, his usual nervousness tempered by a newfound focus. "What do you think we will find?" Leo studied the chamber. "Something the tomb's creators left behind. Something they wanted only the worthy to see. We will know when we are ready." The center of the room held a pedestal, taller than a human, with a device floating above it. Light shimmered across its surface, forming patterns that seemed alive. The energy it radiated made the walls hum, and the air vibrated as if carrying a message. Myra approached slowly, keeping her hands open and careful. "This is it," she whispered. "The source of the tomb's power. It could do incredible things, if used wisely." Leo stepped beside her. "And we must remember the warnings. The carvings we saw before showed the consequences of misuse. This is a gift, but also a responsibility. We are being tested one last time." As they examined the pedestal, one of the Guardians moved closer. Its glowing eyes focused on them, observing. Leo felt the weight of judgment in its gaze. "The Guardians are watching," he said. "Our actions here will determine what the tomb allows us to take or whether it lets us leave at all." Myra extended her hand toward the device, but paused. "Leo, I feel its energy. It reacts to intention. We cannot touch it carelessly." Raffi glanced nervously at the floating device. "Do we take it or leave it?" Leo considered the question carefully. "The tomb has tested us to see if we can make the right choice. Power without wisdom is dangerous. Sometimes the correct choice is restraint, not action." Myra's eyes met his. "So, we leave it?" Leo nodded. "We observe, learn, record, but we do not take it. That is the lesson the tomb wants us to understand. Respect the knowledge, respect the creators, and we prove ourselves worthy." Raffi exhaled slowly, relief and awe in his expression. "I understand now. The tomb is not giving us power to take. It is teaching us how to handle it responsibly." Myra carefully recorded all the readings and holographic projections. "We can take the information with us, but the device itself must remain. That way, future generations can learn from our discovery without risking disaster." The Guardians seemed to acknowledge their decision. They moved back, giving the humans space. The energy of the pedestal remained strong, but it no longer pulsed aggressively. It was as if the tomb itself was approving their choice. Leo looked around the chamber. Everything here was built to test intelligence, courage, and restraint. We have passed. The tomb has shown us that knowledge is a gift, but wisdom is the key to using it well. Myra smiled slightly, awe and pride shining in her eyes. We can document everything, teach humanity about this place, and honor the creators by leaving it intact. That is the most important lesson of all. Raffi nodded. It feels strange to leave it behind after coming this far, but I see now that taking it would be wrong. The tomb would not allow it to be used wisely yet. Leo turned toward the exit, his steps measured. We leave with knowledge, not possession. That is what makes us worthy of this discovery. The tomb has tested us in every way, our courage, our restraint, and our respect for what is greater than ourselves. As they walked back through the corridors, the tomb seemed to respond to their choice. The glow of the walls grew warmer, the energy softer, and the guardians moved aside, letting them pass unhindered. Every step was filled with understanding, as if the tomb itself was teaching them that humanity could rise to challenges with wisdom and responsibility. Myra looked back at the pedestal one last time. It will remain here, but the knowledge we carry is enough to inspire future generations. The tomb has not denied us, it has guided us. Leo placed a hand on her shoulder. We will return with the records. Humanity will learn, and we will be ready for challenges ahead. That is the legacy of this tomb and the gift of those who built it. As they stepped out of the chamber, the team felt a deep sense of accomplishment. They had faced the tomb's greatest test, resisted temptation, and gained wisdom far beyond what any one of them could have imagined. The tomb had remained intact, a silent guardian of its secrets, and the humans had proven themselves worthy of its lessons. The journey back to the surface was quiet, filled with reflection. Leo knew that the story of the tomb would inspire generations, not because of the power it contained, but because of the wisdom it had taught them. Humanity had learned a critical lesson: true strength lies not in possession, but in understanding and restraint. The journey back to the surface was quiet, the team walking through corridors that now seemed less intimidating. The soft hum of energy still pulsed through the walls, but it no longer carried the tension it had before. Leo led the team, feeling a mixture of relief and pride. They had faced the tomb's greatest challenge and emerged wiser for it. Myra walked beside him, carrying her recording device filled with holographic data, maps, and translations. Leo, I think we have enough information to share with humanity. The tomb's secrets are incredible, but the lessons we learned about restraint and responsibility are even more important. Leo nodded. Yes, knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. Humanity can now learn not just what the tomb holds, but also why it was sealed. That is our gift to them. Raffi, who had been unusually quiet since the heart of the tomb, spoke softly. I still can't believe we left the device behind. It could have changed everything for us. But now I understand. The tomb wanted to teach us the right way to handle it. Leo smiled. Exactly. Power is meaningless without the understanding of how to use it. The tomb has given us insight, and we must honor that by sharing it responsibly. As they reached the staircase leading to the surface, the guardians appeared once more. Their stone bodies moved silently, their glowing eyes fixed on the humans. The team froze, unsure if this was a final test or a simple acknowledgement. One of the guardians stepped forward and pressed its hand against the wall. A door opened, revealing the bright desert sunlight. The guardians did not block their path. Instead, they stood aside, watching quietly. It was as if the tomb itself was approving their actions, acknowledging that they had passed the final test. Leo led the team outside, shielding his eyes from the sun. The desert stretched before them, endless and golden. The tomb behind them seemed ordinary again, half buried in sand, yet they knew it was far from ordinary. It had been alive in its own way, testing, guiding, and teaching them. Myra looked back at the tomb. It will remain hidden, but its lessons will live with us. Every choice we made, every moment of restraint, it has all shaped who we are now. Raffi nodded. And humanity will learn from us. They will know that the tomb was more than a place of power. It was a teacher, a guide, and a guardian of wisdom. Leo took a deep breath, feeling the warm desert wind on his face. We came seeking discovery, but we found something far greater. The tomb has shown us that true strength comes from understanding, courage, and restraint. That is the legacy we carry back. The team returned to their ship, carefully transporting the recordings and holographic data. Every artifact, every map, and every projection was documented. They would bring this knowledge to humanity, not as a weapon, but as a lesson. The tomb's power remained untouched, preserved for those who might be ready in the future. As the ship lifted off, Leo looked down at the tomb one last time. The desert sands shifted gently around it, as if the world itself respected the ancient place. The team had entered seeking power and technology, but they left with wisdom and a deeper understanding of their own species. Myra turned to Leo. "Do you think anyone will ever open it again?" Leo shook his head. "Perhaps. But only when they are ready. The tomb tests those who enter it. And if they are not ready, it will not allow them to succeed. We were fortunate to be guided by its lessons, and humanity will benefit from that guidance." Raffi smiled faintly. "I feel different now. Not just because of what we discovered, but because of how we acted. We proved that humans can face something greater than themselves and make the right choice." Leo placed a hand on his shoulder. "Exactly. That is the spirit that will carry humanity forward. Knowledge is powerful, but wisdom is what shapes the future. That is the message of the tomb." As the ship soared into the sky, leaving the desert behind, the team felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The tomb remained silent, its secrets intact, but its lessons had been learned. Humanity would carry those lessons forward, guided by the choices of a few brave explorers who had dared to enter the tomb that should never have been opened. In the days and years to come, their story would inspire scientists, explorers, and leaders alike. They would remember that the greatest discoveries are not those taken by force, but those understood with wisdom. The tomb's gift was not energy or technology, it was the proof that humanity could rise to meet challenges with courage, patience, and respect for the unknown. And somewhere in the desert, the tomb waited quietly, its guardians still watching, its light still glowing faintly. It would remain, a silent teacher, holding its secrets until the next generation was ready to learn.